Beautiful afternoon to you, and glad to have you join us on the program Flipside with yours sincerely, Oluije Oikokai. Today on Flipside, we'll be looking at the intricacies of parenting. We all know that there are so many advantages and disadvantages that comes with parenting, and the ability to be a parent is another ball game entirely. All right, to discuss with us, we have two parents in the studio. And the first person is Pastor Wisdom Elder. He is a clergyman. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And we also have the person of Reverend Mrs. Abies Igariva. She is a parenting coach. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Nice to be here.
All right, so quickly now, let's delve into the program proper, parenting. I would like to start with a lady in the house. Who is a parent?
Who is a parent?
Yes.
A parent is someone that nurtures and raises a child, being responsible for the child's upbringing and responsibilities.
Okay.
That's what a parent is.
Okay. Elder Wisdom.
Right. A parent, yeah, like she has said, someone who has attained the status of responsibility. I think couples who have attained the status of responsibility of handling their children, raising their children, and giving them a proper foundation to also thrive. I think that's these are parents.
Okay, so can we say if someone is 18, like 18 years and above, can that person be regarded as a parent once they are married?
All right.
Mrs. Abies.
18 years old, if that person can be regarded as a parent. 18 years old can give birth to a child.
Sure.
If an 18-year-old has a child that he or she is taking care of, raising the child, taking responsibility of that child, then that person is qualified to be called a parent.
Okay, so anyone
provided you are able to do what a parent is supposed to do.
Okay.
Can be regarded as a parent.
It can be regarded as a parent. Okay, so Elder Wisdom, I don't know if you go with Mrs. Abies.
Yeah, once there is a procreation, that person automatically stands to be called a parent because he has been able to release someone into the world. Now, the intricacies of the kind of parenting, whether good parenting or bad parenting, or whether the person is qualified to be a father or mother or whatever, I think those ones will become secondary factors. But as far as parents are concerned, I know there are intricacies, there are challenges and all the rest of them. So the person who has been able to bring up a child into the world is regarded as a parent until maybe that person is proven to be not capable, and maybe such child can be withdrawn from the person.
Okay, now, Mrs. Abies, there are some issues where we find some young girls, they put to bed, and you find some women asking them, who sent you to bring this child into the world? Why are you taking care of this child in this manner, in this way? So would you say that person is old enough to be called a mother, to be called a parent?
By situation, that person has become a mother.
Yeah.
Because let's use a mother now as an example. Because she has been able to bring that child into the world. But whether that parenting is the right parenting, is a positive parenting or a negative parenting will not be the question. But as long as she has been able to bring that child, birth that child. But the question now is that, is she parenting that child rightly?
In the right way.
In the right way. Those things that are supposed, that are characterized by good parenting, is she carrying them out? That would be our question. Okay. That would be our concern.
Okay, now you just talked about characteristics of parenting.
Yes.
So we want you to let us know, because someone out there will be like, I want to know, what are the characteristics of being a good parent? How can one tell this person is responsible? How can one tell this person is doing the right thing at a particular time, at a particular given time?
The scripture says, by their fruits we will know them. When you see a child, when you see the way a child behaves, when you see the characteristics of a child, you can tell if that child is being is being parents or parent, if the child is doing well, if the child is from a good parent. Yeah. So one of the characteristics of a good parent is to be able to enforce rules, good rules, and be able to support your child to go through the rules. Set boundaries, set good boundaries, and give your child the necessary support to be able to go through those boundaries. As a parent, you give rules. As a good parent, you give rules. As a good parent, you also give your child the opportunity to also hear his or her own view. Put your child into consideration in your parenting method, in your ways of parenting. It shouldn't just be a one-side thing. As you bring in your rules, let your child, also give your child an opportunity to also speak. Support that child in going through your parenting journey. That's what I want to say.
Okay, now, while growing up, we had issues of some children. When we're discussing, we find them saying, oh, my dad is a strict dad. He doesn't allow us to do some certain things and air our views. Now, to elder wisdom, being an authoritative parent, is that the way to go?
All right. First of all, I want to say that there are two sides to parenting, either the wrong side or the right side. And the reason why we are making these contributions today is to make people understand that most of us are actually applying the wrong approach to parenting, and some of us are actually applying the right approach. You know, for those who come from, you know, the overbearing, authoritative, restrictive, hyper-restrictive, punitive kind of homes, I want us to understand that some of these characteristics are part of the dysfunctionalities of our society. You know, I had to take time before now to start doing research on why we have a lot of tendencies, so strict and so terrible tendencies back here in Africa. And we realized that some of our ancestors were exposed to whatever culture they had when they were under their colonial masters, when they were under their captors. So our ancestors had so much restrictions. Our ancestors had so much punishment for committing any little thing or crime, and they were denied of so many things, and they felt that was how they could live or learn or do so many things. And because that was what they saw as a culture from their masters, they transferred this to their children. And today you have children that will be forced to go to hawking because the parents feel that is one of the ways to survive. You have children that can be punished for making little errors that are still possible because there's no how, there's nobody that can never make errors in life. You have children that will be shouted at for making mistakes, and you know children are curious. When you are growing up, we are all curious. We want to know. If you bring a child here now, the child wants to know everything, and in knowing everything, he's going to scatter a lot of things, push a lot of things out. So some of us, when we see children coming up like this, we shout at them, we intimidate them, and probably we abuse them. And this abuse does not leave the side of that child. The child grows up to keep being afraid to try certain things on his or her own. And sometimes if the child finally tries something, he falls into error, which will be a classic error. Some of them finally might go and have unwanted pregnancies because of the kind of restrictions they have at home. Some of them might go and begin to join cultism because of the kind of restrictions they had at home. They have been, you know, intimidated, and then this other environment gives them the ability to say, okay, we will help you overcome this kind of intimidation and this kind of fear. There are some that are very talented, but because of this kind of restriction, over restriction, they take drugs in order to beat the low self-esteem, to beat the shyness and all the rest of them. So they don't have the proper upbringing, the proper knowledge. They had parents that were not monitoring their temperament. They were not monitoring their emotions. They were not monitoring their weaknesses. They were not raising them according to their personality traits and all. So based on that, the parents enforced a lot of things on them. So this continues. In America, there was a time they had what we call ghetto problem, where little children who were having premature parenting, they were raising their own children without the knowledge of parenting. And with that, children kept on getting into drugs and all the rest of them. And then they saw that as the way of survival. You know, but gradually, if you watch deep into the country, like America, for example, you will still find out the sane families, the normal children, the children that don't have tattoos, the children that don't pierce their ears, or their nose, or their tummy, or their tongue, and all the rest of them. But some of us, we think the piercing, this and that, and so many crazy things are part of, you know, life of the West. They are not, you know. So if parenting is not well handled, it will affect the child. It will affect the child's behavior. It will affect the kind of decision the child makes in future. It will even stop the child from taking advantage of certain opportunities in future. If the child gets to the outside world, for example, is supposed to explore, go into business or go into anything, the child will be so scared of getting in, because he's afraid that if he gets in, he might fail. And if he fails,
not be able to express himself.
And he will be exposed unnecessarily. Whereas failure is part of life. Failure is, I think it was in Japan, where they said their children from the first grade till the third or fourth grade, they don't allow them to take exams. So just come through and keep coming to school and all, because these children don't even know what exam is. So let them, first of all, get the culture of learning. Let them get the culture of studying and understanding before you can start giving them a test to try them. But unfortunately, in our environment today, even the 2-year-old child is taking exam, and then you want to test the child whether it's good or not. So there are so many things that have actually deformed. This societal deformation actually has affected our politicians. You see somebody that wants to pile a lot of money, and because piling a lot of money, even though his immediate society, they are suffering. You see some money stored in the banks abroad and all the rest of them, and he manages every destabilize the society. So because of the mentality of slavery that people have. So I think that is where we start from, changing the mindsets, changing some concepts that was transferred to us by our parents, so that we can begin to give the next generation the best of life.
Okay. Now, there used to be this saying, spare the rod and spoil the child. When we do that, I remember back then, anything you do, you find your parents, they flog you into shape. Now, we don't find that now in the new modern way of parenting. So, are we saying that the old method of parenting is not, or the new method of parenting is far better than the old method of parenting? Or the wisdom?
Okay, the old method of parenting is not complete, it's not wholly perfect. And then the new method of parenting as well is not fully perfect. Now, there are some children you see in public places, like in schools, or maybe they visit you, and these kids have become used to shouting before they can take action, before they can respond to any of your errand or any of your instruction. They have become used to shouting. And if you tell them anything with a calm voice, they will not respond immediately. And you just know that, yes, this child is coming from this kind of background. You understand the shouting background. And when you shout, the child responds. That doesn't make the shouting to be to be in order, because you are actually giving the person a wrong orientation about responding to normal things, you know. So the old parenting was too punitive, was too restrictive. They acted based on so many fears and so many misinformed character supplements. They substituted a lot of misinformation from where we are coming from. Parents will pour you pepper, they will whip you with burning firewood, and the kind of strange punishment they will give to you, hoping that those punishments can make you to change. And then most children became very stubborn, very thick-headed, so adamant, and then most of those children grew up to begin to avoid making their parents to know whatever they were doing outside of their parents' control. And so whenever they come home, they dress well, they appear well, they behave so well, and the parents will feel, wow, my child has started adjusting. But whereas the child is wild,
goes
outside,
out and changes to other clothing.
So it's never actually helped holistically. And like I've told you, some decisions that children make, and as a result of certain fears, and so maybe little intimidation out there can make them to say, okay, let me do it, and you say, don't worry, your mommy will not know, and all the rest of them, and so many fears, and people are exposed to so many terrible lifestyles. So that is the challenge from there. But the mindset they had was okay. They wanted the best, but they felt that was the right way it should go. Now, taking it to this day, parents don't care what goes on with their kids. So they just abandon them, and they just try to cope with whatever they can do and whatever they can do. No, it's not proper. There must be a balanced approach. You want to punish a child, let the child know what you are punishing the child for, and then give the child relevant punishment that will help the mindset of this child to build, to grow. I'm restricting you from eating because of what you did. I've told you over and over, and you refuse to listen. And if this continues, this is how it's going to be. Fine. There are so many. I'm restricting you from holiday. I'm restricting you from going out the rest of today based on what, there are so many ways we can make a child to understand how punishment is transferred, and that child's mindset. There are so many children that they gave them punishment for reading. I think, is it Ben Carson? Yeah, Ben Carson's mother. The punishment she always gives to the child is to read certain number of books, and he must finish it within a particular period of time. That's the punishment. And this made this guy to keep reading, and then, till tomorrow, he's the best surgeon all over the world. So the punitive measures should come with a right message, and should come with the right approach, and the approach should have a very perfect ending, something that will help the child to finally overcome certain things. And you, who is punishing, should understand the temperament of your child. There are some children that are extroverts. They want to see things. They want to go different places. Understand the temperament and give the child relevant approach that will help the temperament.
Okay, thank you so much. Reverend Mrs. B.S. Igariva, do you go with all elder wisdom has said? Growing up, we had authoritative parents, or some of us had authoritative parents that when they tell you you're coming back from school, it has to be two at the dot. And that helped us grow, nurture us, and made us who we are today. So do you feel an authoritative parent is one that society should hold on to?
Let me use the word authoritarian.
Okay.
Yeah. Authoritarians. Those are the ones, the kind of parents that say, this is the way I want. If you don't go that way, you'll be punished for it.
Yes.
Okay. Authoritative on the other way can be a parent that gives you rules, that this is the rules, this is how I want it to be, make you understand. And like I said before, give you support on how to carry out the rules just the way the parents want it.
Okay, that's for authoritative.
Authoritative.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that old method of being an authoritarian was the best. though some people will say that was how we were brought up,
Yes,
and
that was
and,
what,
and
that's
see,
what made
see how
who
we
I am
yes,
right
see how
now.
yes, see how we are. Even not for the way my father handled me, even not for the way my mother handled me,
yes.
I would have become something else. And like you said, they said spare the rod and spoil the child. Who said is only with a whip, with the firewood, like my elder said, or with
or sitting on the wall.
Or sitting on the wall, pick pin.
Pick pin.
Who said those are the only ways of sparing the rod? You can sit a child down, talk to the child, make the child understands.
Okay.
With that alone, the child will know that when that child is about to go in the wrong direction, you will know that my mother spoke to me, my father spoke to me 2 nights ago, 2 days ago, that this is what my mother expects of me, this is what my father expects of me. So let me do what's mine. I wouldn't want my mother to, you mustn't beat. You know, when I was growing up, there was this tenant in my father's house. She had 2 children. The first one was like, it was a boy. It was like 3 years. That boy was 3 years old. That woman can carry anything to hit that boy. That child was so maltreated. Even most of us began to think she was not the parents, the mom of that child. You know, at every slightest provocation, she will beat the hell out of that child. But what was the outcome today? So it's not by being an authoritarian, using the whatever block to break the child's head before the child can say, okay, this is the right way to behave. I prefer the modern way of parenting. City. I can't remember the last time I hit any of my child. And I did that because of ignorance then. I can't say any of them, by the special grace of God anyway, it's the grace of God. I can't say I see any of them misbehaving or going in the way they are not supposed to go. So it's not by hitting a child or shouting, and I believe in prayers. I pray, I do the once I can do the talking, and by God's will, God is helping me. So I prefer the modern method of parenting.
Okay, in our society now, we hear people say this generation is Gen Z generation. So where you find all manner of dressing and attitude. Do you feel it's the new method of parenting that is being inculcated in them that is causing this new system, this new way and approach to their manners, their dressing? Gone are those days when you find an elderly woman standing beside you, and because of the way you were being tutored by your parents, you stand up for that elderly woman. Those were parenting back then. Now you find an elderly woman with the Gen Z generation, they just sit down and look at that same woman. Or in the case of being appreciative, do we still have parents teaching their children to be appreciative at every slight help being given, being rendered to them? So would we still say the new method of parenting is better than the old ways of parenting?
I still stand by choosing the new method of parenting to the old one.
Yeah. Like
when I was growing up, I wouldn't say it's the area where I was brought up. Yeah. You can just pass through an elderly person. If the situation is not that you know the person very well, you can't say good afternoon or good morning, ma'am. But I find that happening now. In our present times, I find that happening.
Okay, so
then, if you ask every little child, they will tell you there are 5 magic words. Thank you, excuse me. We were not taught those ones then. There's hardly a little child that you give something to nowadays that wouldn't say thank you. Nowadays, I pass through teenagers that I don't even know. They say good afternoon, man, good morning, man. I know we are in a Gen Z, like you said, in Gen Z generation, that dressing is something else. Parenting has a lot to do with it. But then, the digital world is greatly affecting it too. Social media is having a great effect on it. Your mother might not be that woman that dresses well, modestly.
Yeah.
But when you are into the social media, you are in the social media world, you see what is going on there. At home, you might dress well, but when you get to school or boarding house or hostel, wherever you are, you go and start carrying out whatever activities we are seeing on social media. So I wouldn't say it's a parent's fault, or it's not 100% the parent's fault that a child dresses in an unusual manner.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's 100% the parent's fault.
Okay. All right. Elder wisdom. Some parents out there, they'll be like, okay, the way you've spoken now, that there are some method, there are some ways you should be able to talk to your children as a parent. So can you please educate us on some of these ways we can talk to our children in order for them to be able to understand that we are trying to pass out morals and knowledge to them?
All right. I want to say that, first of all, the golden rule says that do unto others what you expect them to do unto you. And a lot of people today have started changing the narrative. A lot of people that actually come from dysfunctional homes have started helping people from dysfunctional homes on how to be better. So I believe parents should see it as a responsibility as well to also help to make life easier for their children. One thing is very important. Anything you have not taught a child, you don't have the right to accuse the child of practicing it. If you have not taught a child how to actually respond to you, probably when you're angry with the child, you've not taught the child how to respond to you, then you should allow the child, because he's at liberty to use whichever means possible from anywhere, maybe social media, maybe on movies or anything, to respond to you. But it's your duty to approach the child and let the child understand what is the norm, what is the right way, and what is the most acceptable way, whether here or globally, and certain things that the child should not attempt, whether in the house or in public space. Now, so it's very relevant, because most parents forget that the rule of life is that if you have not actually, many times Jesus practiced some of these things. You want to heal on the Sabbath day, first of all, he threw up a question. He wants to do a particular thing that is not widely accepted. He first of all talk about it before taking up the action, so that the responsibility has left you. So it's our own responsibility to first let the child understand what you want, first attempt, and understand that every first attempt does not mean that the child has actually mastered the culture or the character. Psychologists say a habit is mastered after 21 times of practice. So you are supposed to exercise patience with this child to get used to the new pattern that you are introducing him to. So as far as that child is concerned, everything that you are seeing from that child are as a result of what you have actually impacted into the child. All right, so we have to understand all this and then study a lot. The generation we are, there's nothing strange about it. The only thing new about it is that a lot of things are evolving, which are totally different from what our parents have been used to. So you might not need to use your old formula to handle this current generation.
Let's take a moment to talk about something that's essential for every living being on this planet: hydration. That's right. We're delving into the refreshing world of staying hydrated. So grab your water bottles and let's quench our thirst for knowledge. First off, let's talk about the incredible benefits of staying hydrated. Picture this: glowing skin, improved mood, boosted energy levels, and sharper focus. Yep, hydration is like the secret sauce to feeling and looking your absolute best. But wait, what happens when we neglect our hydration game? To be honest, dehydration is no joke, my friends. We're talking about headaches, fatigue, dizziness, and even a dip in cognitive function. No, thank you, dehydration. We're all about that H2O life. So, where can we find this magical elixir called water? Well, luckily for us, it's all around, from crisp, cool tap water to juicy fruits and veggies. Hydration sources are as abundant as they are delicious. Now, let's tackle the big question. How much water does our body really need? Get ready for this mind-blowing fact. Did you know our bodies are approximately 60% water? That's right, we're practically walking, talking water bottles. But here's the point. Our hydration needs vary from person to person, depending on factors like age, weight, and activity level. As a general rule, just aim for around 8 glasses of water a day. But don't be afraid to adjust based on what your body is telling you. Pay attention to your body's signals and adjust your water intake accordingly. So there you have it, folks. The power of hydration in a nutshell. From the benefits of glowing skin to the dangers of dehydration, it's clear that water is the ultimate game changer in the quest for health and vitality. So let's raise our glasses, or should I say our water bottles, to staying hydrated and feeling healthy. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, and stay tuned in for more exciting adventures right here on FLIPSIDE, airing on ITV.
All right, welcome back. In case you just joined us, this is FLIPSIDE with yours sincerely, Oluije Oyikokai. And we're talking about the intricacies of parenting. Before the break, Elder Wisdom was telling us about some ways we can actually talk to our parents, our children rather, and also letting us know the issues as regards the Gen Z generation. But before we go back to him, Mrs. Abies, I would like to ask you, now, when it comes to being a mother, how can a mother inculcate wisdom, knowledge, and also talk to a child in the way that the child will be remorseful rather than using the whip or whatever object around?
There are 4 characteristics. We call them the 4 C's of parenting.
Okay.
Number 1 is connection. Connection. There should be this connection, this emotional connection between a parent and the child.
Yeah.
And that connection, it grows. It's not a one-day thing. Be emotionally attached. Let your child be emotionally attached to you too.
Yeah.
So when you are connected to your child, the child understands what you will want and what my mother will not want. Another one I want to talk about is consistency. Consistency. When you set rules, when you set boundaries in your house, be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Let there be a follow-up. It's not maybe precious in this house from today. When you wake up in the morning, you sweep the sitting room, take care of the house. Before you can take your bath and take your breakfast, do whatever you want to do. You say it. Today, Precious wakes up. She does what she's supposed to do, like how you have
instructed.
Yes, how you have instructed it. Then tomorrow, she doesn't. And then you are the Precious. Have you done what I'm supposed? You You are supposed to stand by, be consistent with whatever rules, whatever boundaries you have set. Yeah. That's it. Then another one is communication. Communication is very essential in parenting. Always communicate with your child. Always communicate. What you did yesterday wasn't the right thing. This is how you were supposed to do it. This is how you were supposed to go about it. You made me angry. Next time, if you want me to be happy with you, this is how you are supposed to go about it. Always tell that child how you want your things, how it is to be done, how it should be done rightly. Always communicate it to that child. Let that communication always be there. And the fourth one I want to talk about is care. Care. Show empathy. Always show empathy to your child. Show care. Show love. No child will want to be disobedient to a parent that shows love. No child will want to be disobedient to a parent that shows empathy. These are the ways you can correct your child, parent your child in the right way.
Okay. Now you find some parents telling their children, don't you see Osaro, the way he's going, he's excelling, he's doing well. Comparison. That's
comparison. It's very wrong.
Why do we find that in our family, in our homes?
Yeah, it's not the right thing to do as a parent. Don't compare one child. Every child is unique. Every child is unique. Don't compare one child. Even if you give birth, even if you give birth to 4 children, don't expect all the 4 children to come out the same way. Yeah. They all have their own uniqueness. A might have one unique characteristic that B will not have. So if A is doing well and B is not doing well, don't tell B, look at A, can't you see how? No, it's very wrong. Instead, tell that child, it's because A is doing this, that's why she's doing well. You too, you can come up. You can also do the right, you also do well like A is doing. Yeah. Don't say, can't you see, it's your sister. I gave birth, I'm the one that gave birth to her, I'm the one that gave birth to you. Why? No. It diminishes the morale of that child. It makes that child to have low self-esteem. Yeah. So don't compare. Comparison is not the right way of parenting at all.
So that brings to mind favoritism, where you have in a family of 4, you have the mother
prefers one
to this
to
one,
the other.
This is the one. Yeah. Then the father says this is so why do we have that in our
It's very common. It's very common. And such a thing can be very, very detrimental. Yeah. It brings about siblings rivalry. Even till when they are grown, it poses a big problem. Sometimes it will be natural with some parents that they will have their favorites. Yeah. Even if you just find yourself preferring one to the other, don't show it. A parent once said, there is no how, nothing you will say about it. You must have your favorites among your children. Even if it happens like that, you find yourself like, don't show it. It will cause rivalry amongst the children. Yeah, thereby making them have hatred for themselves. If you find yourself preferring one to, when we were growing up, my father said, my youngest sister was the incarnation of the grandmother. Because of that, even if that's your belief, don't show it that, okay, she's my favorite. Why? Just show equal love. Even though down in your heart, you know that this one is very dear to my heart. But on the surface, show equal love for everybody. So that there will be love, mutual love amongst them. And yes, and there will be peace and unity amongst the children.
Okay, now back to elder wisdom. Wisdom elder. Yes, you're talking about the Gen Z generation, and also we'll narrow it down to the fact of favoritism amongst parents and also comparison also. So we would like you to throw some light on this.
All right. First of all, I want to say that every parent should understand that the world of parents was different from the world of their own parents. When the
world of parents?
Yes, currently was totally different from the world of the parents of the current parent. That's their grandparents. There are some things that were really happening in the days of our great-grandparents that if you tell a kid today, that kid will be looking at you as you are not communicating, you know. So it is not the making of the child. Change is constant. Change is constant and it's dynamic. The same way culture is. Most of the children today, they automatically switch into what is good or what is relevant to them, irrespective of whether it is your culture or it is not your culture. You understand? So that is why a parent who wants to handle the child in the world of the child must understand the world of the child, first of all. And you must know that the world of the child is different from your world. If I give a 10 or 12-year-old kid now a phone, a smartphone, without the manual, anything, I just give the child is going to go through everything in that smartphone, operate it perfectly without any direction. Why? Because it has been built according to the mindset of this current generation. But if I give an 80-year-old man that same smartphone, it will be difficult. There are some things, even till date, there are so many things I still have to come and guide my mom on doing, even when she has been using phone for the past 10 to 15 years. You know, so there are things, this same current generation are going to become outdated when the next generation starts moving. So you are going to see some things that will be totally different from this current generation. So we should understand that it is not strange. So when you see your children trying to improve, get to know what that thing is all about. Take, for example, we have a lot of things going on in social media today, and then a lot of people want to work from their homes. As a result, when kids do not know the right one to choose, they can go into fraud. But if a parent understands so many ways a child can work from home, it can encourage the child to go into cryptocurrency or to go into forex trading or to go into any online, maybe network marketing or every other retail jobs online. You can encourage your kids to go into that, because we have entered into an age whereby you don't have to work so hard like it used to be in those days before you succeed. Today you have to work smart, and smart means you have a skit maker who stays in his house and makes millions. And then so our parents going into that world, understanding those variables, can now be able to encourage children, look for places that they can identify with, where they can even better of their life with such kind of. If you don't have it, don't worry. Other youths who are into fraud will convince the children that what is in vogue now is fraud. And then the children will leave their skills, leave their talents, leave everything. Just imagine if the likes of Osime was still pressing computer to defraud, and maybe he makes $1 million in 10 years and he will be shouting he has made money. So leaving his football where he's making over $90 million. You know, so look at it that way. So we have children who are smart, who are skillful, that can understand other areas to generate wealth through their potentials and capacity, and have lasting impression in their world better than the fraudulent. So our parents should also get themselves into that level. You must not get to know everything, but at least the inquiry will get you to ask more questions. I've seen parents that had to call me and how they want their children to get into some skills and all the rest of them. So they had to call, and then we started making certain arrangements. You understand? So it is like that. So it's no longer the age whereby you have to read hard. There is this letter the Japanese class principal sent to their children when they were writing their primary 6 exam. They first of all sent a letter and said, all these children, among these children, before their exam comes up, among these children you have engineers, you have bankers, you have lawyers, and you have even pastors or something among these children. So please do not expect that this exam is going to produce the best is going to make you discover who is the best. Rather, this exam is going to test their own ability in different ways. Just as a fish cannot be so perfect on land, and a bird cannot be so perfect in the sea, so also will some of these children not be perfect in some areas, but that does not mean they don't have their exceptional qualities in other areas. So that encourages parents to embrace whatever score they see. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book, Why A and B students work for C and failed or dropouts. Why A student, that's first class students, and second class finally work for those who drop out from school and those who even failed. That's a book Robert Kiyosaki wrote. You know, so you understand that the A and B students might be very exceptional in following the rules in the school to succeed, but the other people might be very exceptional in socializing. And social intelligence is what makes more money more than intelligent quotient. So if this person is so sociable and he can just join politicians and they can see him as a viable person they can trust with leadership, and tomorrow he becomes president, he did not make first class. But suddenly, he might be the one to now employ the one that's made first class as a minister or as any other thing, because he has the while these people were learning book, he was learning how to relate with people, how to build relationship, and he can enter anywhere. And the other man that learns book knows more about his book, knows a lot. So these people have different qualities, they have distinctive features. You cannot rule out the fact that maybe this person is not good at this, does not mean this person is out. No. So parents should understand that. And then where you see the something you mentioned, where you see a comparison and all those kind of things, is because of dysfunctionality in leadership. A leader knows that people he is leading actually have different qualities. You understand? The day Jesus, for example, I'll use Bible. Thank God you mentioned me as a pastor today. The day Jesus called his disciples, some came before Peter. Even Andrew was the person that brought Peter. But the day he was handing over leadership, he handed over to Peter because he has seen throughout that Peter had that capacity to lead. It's not about the Andrew that brought. But the fact that Peter had the capacity to lead did not mean that every other person were not functioning at the time when he had left. You know, so everybody has their distinctive features. It's the duty of parents to know what these features are. It's also the duty of the parents to know the areas where their children can function better, help to make the contacts and connection. Meet your colleagues, meet your mates, like the Jews always do. They go to meet their friends, and then they tell their friends, I want you to mentor my child, especially your friend that is successful in an area. I want you to mentor my child in this area as well. These are how the Jews build their wealth. This is how they build everything. And this is how maybe some people, these Igbos, are doing apprenticeship today. They go to meet the man that is succeeding in business and say, I want you to also train my child. I want him to serve you, and then get to know. So all this, by the time this child is leaving school, he's serving this man, and before you know it, this child comes out and he's training another person, and there's no frustration in the chain, you know. So that's what I have to appeal. There's nothing strange about this, our generation. There's nothing strange about the previous, but what is constant is change, and we must understand that this change, while it comes, we have to learn how to study it and embrace it so that it can be useful to us. Okay.
All right. So, Mrs. Abias, quickly now, we see sometimes a father chastises the children, and the mother comes to say, no, it ought not to be like that. So how can we find the father and the mother working in synergy?
Parenting between the father and the mother is supposed to be a teamwork. The father and the mother, they are supposed to work as a team. They're supposed to work as a team. It's something I do in my home. It's called family meeting. Family meeting enhances parenting. Once in a while, once a week, once in 2 weeks, gather together as a family, father, mother, children. We discuss on how we move the family forward. We discuss on what we are doing right as a family, what we are not doing right as a family. We talk to our children. It's a time for us to talk to our children and then let them hear their own views too. There, the father, my husband now, would tell the children, this is what you are doing that we don't like. I will also contribute to it. Or whatever I say, my husband will also concur. What your mother said is the right thing. This is how it's supposed to be. If we have any disagreement, we go on a separate and discuss it, not before the children, because we are working as a team. If I say yes and the father says no, there is no way the family can move forward. There is no way the children can become better. There is no way they will obey whatever is being said. If my husband says no and I do not agree with his no, I'll have to go back. We have to have a separate meeting and talk over it. You said no, but this is the reason why it should be yes. We sort it out. Then before coming to, if it's what is supposed to be reversed, then the father comes and said, you know, I said no yesterday, but I've reasoned with your mother, this is what we are not concluding at. Both parents should work as a team. The Bible says a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. So whatever you agree with, your husband does not agree with it, try and make your husband understand, make the father understand. Whatever the father agrees with, both of you should just understand before coming to the forefront to say, this is what we are. Discuss family values. This is what we stand for as a family. Everybody must obey. Family values, fathers agrees, mother agrees, and then the children agrees. The family will move forward.
All right. So, Wisdom Elder, how can both parents come together to chastise their children?
Okay, I think chastising their children has to be with deep understanding. Like she has mentioned the C's of parenting. Parents should have proper understanding of what they want, and they should have a family goal about their children, what the children also want. They should be free to also discuss with it. There was a time I said one time that when you're talking to your children sometimes, just see them as your board of directors of your company and see it as a business meeting, so that these people can also express themselves in so many other ways that you never thought would have been possible. They can even give their opinion over so many things, you know. So sometimes you can also carry the children along when they have gotten to a certain age. You can also get their opinion on certain areas that you want to adjust on, and then those opinions can still be worked upon. So when you also, as they grow, you also hand over duties and responsibilities from time to time, leadership duties and responsibilities to them, giving them assignments, helping them to also understand what is going on in your life. You know, like the prodigal son that just came up one day and said, I want to leave, I want to go on my own, so give me everything that belongs to me. You know, if the father was actually really carrying him along and then helping him to understand what life really is, he would not have listened to the friends that told him, man, you're of age, you have to go on. And then he would have seen the family wealth as something that he needs to protect. So I think the cohesion must be very perfect, and then that of the children must also from time to time be
so you don't buy into father talking in the negative way or the positive way, the mother going in the positive way or the negative way. They should come together as a family to make sure that this knowledge is being inculcated into the lives of their children. Yes,
I subscribe to the fact that a family is not a house for debating. When you are solving issues, you are not debating. You are discussing to arrive at a perfect conclusion. And I also subscribe to the fact that your home, your relationship should not be a home for psychology or a home for historical digging up fact. No, I just believe that you should have a good purpose, and then that purpose should also be the paramount thing when you are discussing. So it should be seen as discussion, not really as debating.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Wisdom Elder, the clergyman. Thank you so much for being with us today to pass up knowledge to each and every one of us. And Reverend Mrs. Abies Igariba, we are definitely appreciative of all you have said today. It has been the Intricacies of Parenting with yours sincerely, Oluije Oikokai. I will see you again next week for another exciting time. Till then, to have yourself a blessed day. Bye for now.